I accept the discipline and the judgment of my spiritual father, leader, teacher, and guide, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We set forth here tonight that the black Holocaust is 100 times worse than the so-called Jew Holocaust.
I said, sir, that Israel practiced dirty religion, taking the land from the Palestinians, using lying, thieving, and murder, and the name of God as a shield for their dirty practice.
Ahmadinejad said, well, since the Holocaust, you say, took place in Europe, you should ask the Germans to carve out some of Germany for you. Now that's reasonable. The Palestinians didn't kill them. The Palestinians didn't burn them in ovens. The Palestinians didn't segregate them and make them put on a Jewish star so that they could be dealt with. It was their own Gentile brethren. So what are you doing in Palestine?
The old Jewish relationship with black people has to be changed. We don't want to relate to Jews on a master-slave relationship.
You make me sick. Always got some old crinkly wrinkle cracker that you bring up talking about this is one of the Holocaust victims. God damn it, I'm looking at a whole audience full of Holocaust victims. All of you, you and you and you and you and you, all of you are Holocaust victims.
I'm telling you, when you bring the Jew out of hiding, that's the last barrier you got to get by. Do they control education? Yeah. Do they control the American Medical Association? Yeah. Do they control the American Dental Association? Yeah. The psychologists? Yeah. The psychiatrists? Yeah. Come on! Yeah. They do. Are they over the teachers union? Yeah. Who runs the big publishing houses in America? Who is masterful in all forms of communication? Who is controlling the movie picture industry? Who is controlling the record industry?
You are wicked deceivers of the American people. You have sucked their blood. You are not real Jews, those of you that are not real Jews. You are the synagogue of Satan. And you have wrapped your tentacles around the U.S. government. And you are deceiving and sending this nation to hell. But I warn you in the name of Allah, you would be wise to leave me alone. But if you choose to crucify me, know that Allah will crucify you.
They're the bloodsuckers of the black nation and the black community.
I've never been an anti-Semite. From the depth of my heart, I know that I've never hated the Jewish people.
We asked our contributor from GBTV, Eric Stakelbeck. He is the author of The Terrorist Next Door and has been watching Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam for quite a while now. I don't even know where to begin. That's some of the, that's Iran, Nazi Germany, some of the worst stuff I've ever heard.
Yeah, this is Nazi Hitler-esque rhetoric, Glenn, and he has said, quoting Louis Farrakhan, Adolf Hitler was a very great man. This is a man, Louis Farrakhan, who on Iranian soil in Tehran, in meetings with the Iranian regime, called for the destruction of America, said America would be destroyed at the hands of the Muslims.
Okay, so tell me where because the Nation of Islam, a lot of Islam does not like Louis Farrakhan. Right. He is... he's a pariah even in Islam, right?
He is. They will work with him. As you know, Glenn, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. They will work with him against the Jews, against the capitalists. But the Nation of Islam and the whole black Islamic movement is looked at by Orthodox, Sunni, and Shia Muslims. They're looked at as infidels, apostates. Basically, Glenn, if you trace back the roots of the Nation of Islam to the late 1920s, early 1930s, this is a movement that literally came out of the prisons. That's why we see so many hardened ex-cons today following Farrakhan. Not to get too in the weeds with it, but it's very interesting for people to realize there was a guy named Wallace Fard. He's the founder of the Nation of Islam. He was an ex-convict, came out of the Nation of Islam, came out of prison, went to Detroit, long story short, started telling people he was Allah incarnate. And he started gaining followers in Detroit. One of his main followers was a guy named Elijah Muhammad. So Elijah Muhammad told people that he was Allah's messenger, and Wallace Fard, this ex-convict, was Allah in the flesh. And Elijah Muhammad, by the way, was also an ex-convict, did jail time. So after that, they started their prison ministry. Way back, Glenn, in 1942, the Nation of Islam were in prisons from coast to coast.
Were they always as hateful?
Yes. From the beginning, Glenn, if you can believe it, their ideology, the teachings of Wallace Fard and Elijah Muhammad, their core teachings are that the white man is the devil and that the black man is the chosen race. They taught that the white man was created in a lab by a mad scientist to harass blacks. But Glenn, this is truly what they believe. Whites were devils created in a lab by a mad scientist named Yaqub. And whites' sole purpose is to slaughter and harass blacks. But in the end of times, and they talk about Armageddon a lot, does the Nation of Islam, in the end of days, whites will be slaughtered, blacks will rule the planet.
Up on the Blaze today, there's this amazing story about Louis Farrakhan yesterday or the day before, where he talked about, you know, Jesus is a black man, and he's going to come and testify to Allah, and he'll, you know, it's a ranting of a madman. But when I'm listening to him, he sounds a lot like Ahmadinejad.
Yeah.
Do they have the same end times theology as like the 12th Imam?
Well, they both agree that Jews will be wiped out. Jews are in the crosshairs for both movements.
So, you know, we just said, as we were watching this package together, we both just said, there's no way ABC would do this. There's no way NBC would do this. CBS, nobody else is doing this. Fox won't do this.
No.
Why?
I think it is too hot to touch for not just the mainstream liberal press, but for some establishment inside the Beltway conservatives. And I think a major factor here, Glenn, is the racial aspect of it. Race in this country, obviously, is a very volatile issue, becoming more and more volatile in recent weeks. I don't think they want to touch that, open up that can of worms. Also, I think there's fear because these guys are violent and they will crack skulls and kill people.
Explain the violence. Show me a pattern of violence.
The violence goes back to their very founding in the prison system. These guys are hardened ex-cons. Here's a great example for you of their violence. Malcolm X, who was one of the Nation of Islam's leading lights shortly after its founding, Malcolm X eventually broke from the Nation of Islam, disavowed the teachings of Elijah Muhammad.
Because he went over to Saudi Arabia.
He went to Mecca. He went to the Hajj, and he said, hey, wait a minute, this does not line up, do the teachings of Elijah Muhammad with traditional Islam. So he came back, he broke from the Nation of Islam. After that, they firebombed Malcolm X's home. They harassed him, harassed his family. Eventually, he was assassinated by Nation of Islam members. And there's always been some chatter, Glenn, and some kind of rumors that Farrakhan
was involved,
who called Malcolm X a traitor. And that's never been substantiated, but there's been a lot of chatter over the years. He's never denied it.
Are they currently, I mean, we're going to get into their ties here in a second, but currently, where would you put them on the list of dangers to America?
I think the danger is growing, especially with the Trayvon Martin case and recent racial incidents. I think the danger from Nation of Islam and the new Black Panther Party and all these affiliated black radical groups is absolutely growing, especially under this administration. Divide and conquer, divide people among race, class, etc.
Okay. When we come back, I want to share with you the connections to the left and show you why you need to be concerned about the Nation of Islam and how it fits into this mosaic that this administration is putting together. Back in a minute.
And frankly, it ain't none of your business. What have you got to say about it? Did you teach Malcolm? Did you make Malcolm? Did you clean up Malcolm? Did you put Malcolm out before the world? Was Malcolm your traitor or was he ours? And if we dealt with him like a nation deals with a traitor, what the hell business is it of yours?